Donald Trump has ended the stream protection rule. I'm Allison Kaiser, and coming up on WVU News, I'll tell you how this executive order will affect West Virginians.
I'm Courtney Kramer, and I spoke to one local Muslim American to learn about her life in Trump country.
I'm CJ Harvey, and coal miners everywhere continue to be plagued by this disease. Straight ahead on WVU News, I'll tell you what some lawmakers are doing to help. Our Emmy Award-winning WVU News starts now. Cuts to health care, education, and even an attempt to bring back coal jobs. How's the Trump administration doing in its first 100 days? I'm CJ Harvey.
And I'm Kristen Toole. In this special edition of WVU News, we'll examine issues plaguing our mountain state.
And we'll introduce you to a Muslim American woman living in the heart of Appalachia.
These stories and more on this special edition of WVU News, 100 Days in Trump Country.
Coal is coming back. Clean coal is coming back.
We must restart the engine of the American economy.
There will be great health care for much less money.
We will put our miners back to work.
One of President Donald Trump's campaign promises was to bring back coal jobs.
And to do that, he would have to repeal some of former President Obama's orders on water and pollution. Allison Kaiser joins us now with more. Allison?
Thanks, Kristen and CJ. Coal production in West Virginia has dropped by 39% since 2008. By ending coal-related EPA regulations, President Trump says his plan to bring back mining jobs to the Mountain State is in motion. But some are worried about the impact on the environment and are skeptical of if Trump's plan for coal is even possible. I took a look at what ending the stream protection rule and the Clean Power Plan could mean for West Virginians.
President Trump has already signed 2 executive orders ending EPA regulations related to coal. The Stream Protection Rule, which regulated coal mining waste in waterways, and the Clean Power Plan, which sought to cut carbon emissions from power plants 32% by the year 2030.
Well, it'll certainly help the coal industry, whether it helps them simply minimize their losses and level out that decline curve, or if it allows them to start growing again.
Opponents of Obama's Clean Power Plan claimed these regulations were costly, causing miners to be laid off, and hope that Trump can bring the jobs back.
Yeah, I think Donald Trump could bring coal mining jobs back to West Virginia. I think he's a great businessman and he'll have a good plan for our state.
According to an Energy Department analysis released in January, coal mining accounts for fewer than 70,000 jobs in the U.S. By contrast, renewable energy like wind and solar now accounts for more than 650,000 jobs in America.
Although 95% of the state's electricity is generated from coal, Trump's opponents argue that rolling back these regulations will harm the environment and won't bring coal jobs back to West Virginia.
This move by President Trump drew swift backlash from a coalition of 23 states and local governments, as well as environmental groups which called the order, quote, a threat to public health and vowed to fight it in court. CJ, back to you.
Thanks, Allison. Now, if you ask any retired coal miner, they'll tell you it's not just about getting miners back to work, but also taking care of the ones who already put in the work. I met one of those retired miners who's dealing with a disease that's very common in the mines, black lung. And now he and others are asking lawmakers for help. This is Michael Lopich, a retired coal miner who spent more than 30 years working underground, but 2 weeks ago was diagnosed with the most advanced stage of lung cancer, black lung, an incurable disease still plaguing thousands of coal miners nationwide.
I can't do any real sustained work around the house. I do things, but you know, it's real easy to just be outwinded and fatigued and stuff like that. So playing with my grandkids is just so much I can do.
An investigation by NPR found that the rate of black lung among miners may be 10 times higher than previously expected. And now, lawmakers are asking that more federal funds be sent to black lung clinics to help improve testing equipment and overall aid for black lung victims. So this breathalyzer is one of the best ways for healthcare professionals to tell who has black lung and who doesn't. I'll take the test a couple of times, and then you get back a score, you get back a read, and my number says I'm at about 88% lung capacity ratio, but if that number falls below the 75% mark, things are starting to get dicey for miners. A number that healthcare professionals say that they've seen an increase in the past couple of years.
And I don't know if it's because, the coal miners are working longer hours, more days, or if the patients that I'm seeing are just retired miners who are being tested for the first time. I'm really not sure, but yes, I am seeing an increase.
Most people just don't care, All they're concerned about is their own little thing that they got going on. They could care about some hillbilly in West Virginia that's got black lung. And as far as Trump, I'm 100% for the man. I hope he can straighten this country out because it sure needs help.
That same investigation by NPR found nearly 1,000 cases of advanced black lung disease were diagnosed across 11 clinics over the past decade, right here in the Appalachian region.
And while many coal miners and clinics may be affected by Trump's recent repeals, the administration's attempt to replace Obamacare may hit those who need health care the most. With nearly 600,000 West Virginians on Medicaid, the possible repeal of the ACA under the Trump administration has West Virginia residents concerned. Trump's revised plan would skyrocket prices for senior citizens, which could ultimately change the way they live their life. Senator Joe Manchin says this is unacceptable.
Every insurance company will be able to charge a senior 5 times more than what they charge the healthiest young person. Those types of things are just inhumane.
Republican leaders pulled the proposed plan. However, changes to the bill could bring it back for another vote.
Another group that could suffer tremendously from replacing Obamacare are recovering drug users.
And with the highest overdose death rate in the country, West Virginians could be hit hard by a repeal. Casey Gentile joins us now with more. Casey?
Thanks, Kristen and CJ. Fatal drug overdoses in West Virginia continue to rise. As of 2015, a West Virginian was dying every 12 hours around the clock. And many are wondering how the Trump administration will address those battling drug addiction. I talked to a local resident about what the possibility of the ACA repeal may mean for him and thousands of others in the Mountain State.
The talk of President Trump and the GOP replacing the Affordable Health Care Act could leave 26% of West Virginians without Medicaid. But that's not all. Replacing the ACA could leave thousands without the coverage needed to attend drug rehabilitation centers.
If Medicaid expansion goes away or is altered in any fashion, it's going to have a tremendous impact on individuals having access to not just mental health and substance use care, but health care in general.
3 of 10 Americans in the U.S. are on Medicaid, and in the past 8 years, the overdose death rate has nearly tripled nationwide, with West Virginia leading the list in highest number of overdose death rates. But one Montague County resident is thankful for a local drug rehabilitation center that gave him hope and help when he needed it most.
It definitely saved my life. If it wasn't for that place, I know me and my wife, we would probably both be dead by now. They help. They help. I can't stress that enough. Anybody who wants to change and get the help to get off of it, 100% I recommend going.
Stephen Traxler is happy to announce in 2 months he will have successfully completed his methadone treatments. As for Trump's health care plan, 62% of Americans have given disapproval.
As West Virginia continues to fight the opioid crisis, officials say gutting Obamacare would leave 3 million Americans without drug treatment. Experts say the state needs practical solutions like more beds and drug treatment centers. Kristen and CJ, back to you.
Thanks, Casey. As Americans await the amended healthcare repeal, President Trump's America First budget has received backlash. It includes $54 billion in cuts to programs across the country.
One part of the budget includes a $2.4 billion cut to grants for teacher training, and it also lessens or eliminates 20 departmental programs. Reporter Scotty McMorrin talked to local residents and teachers to see how they think these cuts will affect their schools and their children.
Donald Trump's proposed cuts will impact every person involved in education across the country, and one area that Trump is targeting specifically is the arts. Trump is proposing the elimination of the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Endowment for the Humanities. The United States gives about $300 million to the groups annually. Morgantown High School art teacher Sam Burnett thinks that these cuts will lead to less teachers for more students.
So you will see less teachers, higher class sizes, and everybody knows that the more students one teacher has, the more difficult it is to address an individual student's needs.
And that's not all. In classrooms like this one all across the country, Trump has proposed a $1.2 billion cut to summer and after-school programs, and that means seats in these classrooms may remain empty. The proposed cuts even make future teachers concerned that students will not receive the same education that they would have received before the cuts.
I do think it would be worse, especially because some of these kids really need the tutoring programs that are provided before and after school. Some of the programs before school really help set up what the kids are going to be doing throughout the day.
Federal work-study funds that help students work their way through college would also be drastically reduced. Scotty McMorrin, WVU News, Morgantown.
Trump's budget proposal isn't the only issue unresolved. The immigration debate is still ongoing. Congress has been unable to reach an agreement on immigration reform for years.
Meanwhile, the immigration debate moved to the forefront when President Trump signed executive orders on a new travel ban that was blocked. Officials said the ban discriminated against Muslims.
Courtney Kramer joins us now from Studio B at the Media Innovation Center to tell us more. Courtney?
Immigrants make up about 43 million people in America, and in the wake of future uncertainty, many immigrants are anxious and afraid. I spoke to one local Muslim American who says America is her home. Saba Ashfaq has called West Virginia home for 16 years. She moved to the United States from Saudi Arabia in hopes for a better life.
I came here when I was 9 years old, so I was following my parents coming here. But I want to stay here now because this is a place where I've grown as a person. I've grown in my knowledge and my passions.
But these hopes were challenged when President Trump closed the nation's borders to Muslims around the globe. In his early weeks of administration, Trump signed an executive order that barred entry into the United States from 7 predominantly Muslim countries. Citizens of Iran, Iraq, Syria, Sudan, Somalia, and Yemen would not be able to immigrate to America for the next 90 days. President Trump alluded his actions to preventing radical Islamic terrorism in our nation. Ashfaq said Trump's perception of Muslims is skewed.
I live in the same neighborhoods as them. I live in the same cities as them. We as Muslims live on the same streets as them. So we have the same hopes and goals and fears. I mean, we're all human beings.
And Trump's anti-Muslim speech has fostered a hostile environment toward minorities, fueling a recent spike in hate crimes across the nation. In just the first 10 days after his election, there were more than 300 incidents that targeted immigrants or Muslims. A 2016 Gallup poll found that 72% of Americans considered immigration a good thing for the United States, and as many as 84% supported a path for undocumented immigrants. Back to you at the Waterfront Studio.
Thanks, Courtney. The travel ban was one of the most debated on issues in the Trump administration's first 100 days. However, many Americans may not understand what it's like living in conditions for people wanting to come to America. A local church gave Morgantown residents a chance to experience that firsthand. In just over 2,000 feet, residents were able to step into the lives of children living in places like Kenya, Guatemala, and Uganda. The Compassion Experience gives visitors a chance to see the reality of global poverty in other parts of the world. Visitors were also able to be able to go inside the markets and schools and homes of poor families. And for those that want to go beyond observing, sponsorships are being offered to help change the life of a family in need.
Many of us have a better understanding of what it's like to live in a developing country because of social media.
In fact, our own Commander-in-Chief has found a way to use social media to his advantage. Reporter Tessa Iglesias explains how the president is using Twitter to reach Americans.
I'm Tessa Iglesias, and coming up, I'll tell you how our president uses social media in a way that no president has done before.
Ready to go?
Sometimes the most important lessons are learned outside the classroom.
Are we going the right way?
When you chase the unknown, take a risk, and push beyond your boundaries. That's when you discover who you really are. Every journey starts with a first. Let's go.
Coal is coming back. Clean coal is coming back.
We must restart the engine of the American economy.
There will be great health care for much less money.
We will put our miners back to work.
Welcome back to our special edition of WVU News, 100 Days in Trump Country. The 45th president uses Twitter to reach his 27 million followers daily.
He also uses it to address political, social, and personal issues, and that has many Americans worried.
Reporters Tessa Iglesias and Alexa Chettarelli will join us now for our team coverage of Trump on Twitter.
Thanks, Kristen and CJ. Ever since Donald Trump declared his candidacy for president, Trump and Twitter have been joined at the hip.
And President Trump has taken advantage of this to communicate with his constituents in a way that no other president has done before.
Trump has 27.4 million followers on his personal Twitter account, almost double the number of followers on his official White House account. Trump seems to be using Twitter as a modern way to communicate, but is this a smart way to get a message out if you're commander-in-chief?
Ironically, even though it's unconventional, I think it makes sense given what presidents want to do. Presidents want to have some measure of control over the news and over their message.
But Trump's tweets haven't always been favorable, even going as far as tweeting out policy announcements. Inappropriate or false statements have some Americans worried that Twitter is not the best channel of communication for a president.
He's in the highest office of the land, and I feel like he should be held to a standard. The way he tweets and lashes out about things on Twitter is not presidential to me at all.
To combat tweets from Trump that may contain false information, PolitiFact.com features a truth-o-meter that allows users to fact-check Trump and his tweets. Even though it may be unconventional, Trump takes advantage of Twitter by using it as a direct line to communicate with the public.
That the president is taking a more active role, a more active personal role in trying to shape public opinion and trying to galvanize his supporters than past presidents have.
And his tweets have the power to shape international relations, drive stock prices up or down, and shock the American public.
With President Trump tweeting on average 3 times per day, traditional press conferences and media coverage is something Trump has already managed to change, as he tries to get his message out quickly and in 140 characters or less.
And while Trump's first 100 days in office have been filled with extreme highs and lows, the commander-in-chief has signed 45 executive orders since his January 20th swearing in. But despite being so proactive, are people satisfied with the job he's doing so far?
People of the world, thank you.
100 days since President Trump's inauguration, and his approval rating has reached an all-time low of 35%. A recent Gallup poll reports this percentage is the lowest for a new president. Dr. Robert DeClerico says the president may have only himself to blame.
The tweet in which he argued that the former president of the United States, Barack Obama, was wiretapping him. I mean, that is just factually untrue.
In response to President Trump's first 100 days, disapproval of our new commander-in-chief has been flooding social media. There are Twitter accounts for people who regret their vote and trending hashtags like #NotMyPresident and #DumpTrump. The Twitter account Trump Regrets already has 250,000 followers.
I regret voting for President Trump because he went back on a lot of his promises and now we're suffering from that.
But according to Dr. DeClerico, there is still some hope for Trump and his ratings.
One thing would be to shut up, and most notably to stop these impulsive tweets that continually get him into trouble.
Only time will tell how the rest of Trump's presidency will go and whether or not his ratings will turn around. As of April 10th, President Trump's approval rating has reached 40%.
However, anti-Trump Twitter accounts continue to gain followers daily. Kristen and CJ, back to you.
Thanks, Tessa and Alexa, for that report. With growing tensions in the coal industry, healthcare reform, and West Virginia's budget deficit, residents still have a reason to smile.
Sports reporter Hannah Getz tells us why, coming up next.
I'm Hannah Getz, and coming up next on WVU News, I'll tell you how a look down onto Mountaineer Field keeps the people of West Virginia looking up.
Roll to record, ready bumper. 5, 4, 3,
2, 1.
WVU News is local, in-depth, and always on the move for you.
Straight ahead on WVU News, I'm Kaylee Gunderson.
I'm Cameron Bostic, and coming up on WVU News,
I'll tell you why miners are fighting to save their livelihood. Our Emmy Award-winning...
And it's always on YouTube, on the web, and on the Reed College of Media website.
$1,500 benefiting the organization, Empty Bowls. Emily and Paige, back to you.
track it, roll it, take it, plug in, music up, fade in bumper, ready camera 2, take graphic.
WVU researchers recently uncovered a scandal that rocked Volkswagen and its consumers. I'm Emily Flecker.
A national first place Emmy Award-winning college newscast taped at the Waterfront Studio at West Virginia University.
Learn about the quality of your drinking water using hashtag WVU Streamlab.
The 6 sensors are closed in bottles, tied to a rope, and attached to cinder blocks. That way they stay protected and in place.
To support the Mountaineers, and for many games, it's often sold out.
The user fee passed last month is named the Safe Street and Safe Community.
Colleges are required by federal law to provide safety protocol on campus, but not all students are aware of the
The scientists reported their findings to the EPA in May of 2014 using a device like this one to test.
Stay in the know. Stay connected. Watch WVU News.
Coal is coming back. Clean coal is coming back.
We must restart the engine of the American economy. It will be great health care for much less money.
We will put our miners back to work.
Welcome back to our special edition show, 100 Days in Trump Country. While there is a debate on proposed budget cuts at the federal level, West Virginia has been going through its own problems too.
But somehow residents keep pushing. Sports reporter Hannah Getz joins us now to tell us what keeps West Virginians going. Hannah?
Thanks, Kristen, CJ. To the Mountain State, WVU isn't just a school, and the Mountaineers aren't just a team. They are the heart and soul of this state. For those of us who had to leave the Mountain State for better jobs, those country roads keep bringing us home, and often it's to see Mountaineer sports. In a state full of uncertainty, the continued success of WVU athletics makes us proud and gives us hope.
Even in the darkest of times, the Mountain State seems to always find a light in WVU athletics. With recent flooding in the southern part of the state and economical changes due to new legislation, West Virginia native Coach Gibson stresses the importance of sports in West Virginia culture.
I think it makes people proud. I think it gives them something to look forward to instead of, are the coal mines ever going to open back up? Am I going to have another job? Or, I have to move? And I think that all plays a part in our state and our culture and what we've been brought up on.
West Virginia native and current athlete John Lewis knows not only the emotion of playing for the blue and gold, but also the heart put in by the fans.
When we lose, they lose. When we win, they win, and it helps. It all works together.
Whether it's basketball or football, recovering from natural disaster or economic troubles, there is always one thing that brings West Virginia together.
West Virginia is a beautiful place, and you just almost heaven, West Virginia. I don't think it gets better than that.
Almost heaven, oh, West Virginia.
Life is old there, older than the trees.
Country roads take me home. That's the best part. I love it. It's just special. It'll give you a little tingle down your spine when you're here.
Country roads take me home
To the place I belong.
Mountain Mama,
take me home, country road.
Despite the lack of a national championship, West Virginia residents will always support the Gold and Blue through the good and the bad. CJ and Kristen, back to you.
Thanks, Hannah. And every time I hear that song, I get goosebumps.
It gets me every time.
But that's going to do it for this special edition of WVU News, 100 Days in Trump Country. You can visit us online on our website.
You can also watch any of our shows on YouTube, and please follow us and our reporters on Twitter. I'm Kristen Toole.
And I'm CJ Harvey. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.